And what are we expecting here?
I mean, it's very much a possibility. We started to see that a little bit in Europe, was the targeted bans towards like Batiste or specific heroes every once in a while, but it is going to be Grumpjaw taken off the board first.
Yeah, it looks like Vox will probably be picked up here since Baron is banned, and Grumpjaw again is the person that's most likely banned in the first phase of the draft here, and they're going to pick up Lyra right away.
Yeah, so locking in that support. This is what we saw in London, though, right? The supports were the first ones, or the captains, sorry, were the first ones to be picked up on that first rotation. Vox, as you mentioned, is still a very good first pick.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Lyra pick here because Vox can build Poison Shift and counter Lyra very well. So it's really risky picking Lyra into a Vox if Vox builds that Poison Shift. I think Reliable Union now will probably ban something that is good against Vox, like a really strong jungler or potentially a laner that they don't want to deal with, that they think Vox excels with Lyra.
Yeah, now looking at these bans with Grumpjaw gone, but Koshka still open on the table. Would that be a jungler you could consider for a Reliable Union, or where are they going to be looking with the bans? Actually going to take away Blackfeather.
Yeah, Blackfeather excels with Lyra. We see Armada play Lyra Blackfeather with Baron, and they excelled with it. And Blackfeather is just really flexible in jungle. He's really hard to lock down. He does a lot of poke damage with range 9 once he reaches level 8 on that on point. So Arden is going to be taken away here, which is interesting because Lyra actually counters Arden. So that's an interesting ban by Dynasty.
Yeah, definitely surprising to see the Arden get taken off the board. But I mean, Arden is still a very strong captain, though. And so taking that away from Reliable Union, that's one that they actually did use quite a bit throughout their Challenger run.
And I suppose to some extent it would deny a more aggressive composition if you go with something that really wants to get in their face. Arden can definitely buff that up. But Lance is going to be the lock-in here for Reliable Union. How are we feeling about how these compositions are shaping up so far?
I mean, right now it's feeling like some familiarity. You've got Lance, Lyra, Vox. Those were 3 of the 4 most played heroes throughout all of Europe last season. And so it's kind of just what teams are familiar with. Why not go for what you already know? And because it's on patch 2.5, you know, maybe keep a few things hidden for patch 2.6 next week. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, first game of the season as well, you want to go with comfort.
Yeah, Glaive actually still pretty strong, so I can see Glaive being picked up here. Yep, they're going to pick up the Glaive, and then Adagio with the Weapon Glaive is actually really good. You want to build Poison Shift to counter Poison Shift, so Glaive needs to build that Poison Shift as a weapon jungler, or even lane if they want to here. So they go with double heal if they want, or even go with Batiste, or potentially Koshka to lock down the Vox. So they have a few options, or actually they go with lane Glaive and then the Samuel, which is actually not bad because Samuel and Lyra is very strong jungle together.
Yeah, Samuel was a pick that started off very, very weak, had an incredibly low win rate. By the end of the season in Europe, he was back up to about a 44% win rate, so not too bad, especially considering the start that it had. I mean, it was sitting sub 30% for a while in Europe, so it's definitely still a strong pick now. And of course, we know that if you've watched Riku Meza in the past, he does play this Samuel and plays it very well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So final pick then, what do we expect?
Batiste or Koshka would be the best options here. Oh, they're actually going with Ozo.
Wow,
nice.
Okay. A little bit of monkey business coming out from Reliable Union here. A little bit off the wall. I mean, how does that fit into this composition? What are we expecting out of an Ozo?
Yeah, Ozo every jump he gets fortified health, so he's basically going to suck up all the damage and let Vox basically do damage from behind. So he's good into Samuel because he's so mobile and can get onto Samuel. However, Lyra's bulwark can counter those jumps and cancel it. So Lyra needs to play a really important role here. Mowgli needs to cancel those jumps so Ozo doesn't land a second or third jump.
Yeah, it's going to be really important. The timing of those abilities will be absolutely crucial.
So, when we look at these two compositions then, do we feel like either team has won the draft per se? Do we like the Ozo pick, for example?
I like the draft that Reliable Union has. They have a lot of utilities to block damage for the Vox, but I don't think their draft is really going to do a great job of accounting for that Glaive getting onto the back lines and getting in Vox's face. That's going to be the big concern I have for them.
All right, well, we want to know if you guys at home like the compositions that have been locked in, and also who you're going to be rooting for. Get involved on social media using that hashtag Vainglory8. We're also going to be featuring tweets on the stream as well, so make sure to get involved and we'll be able to join the conversation. We want to know what you think. But moving on into this game then, I'm going to ask you guys for some predictions going forward. We'll start with you, Sweet J. Who do you think is going to take this first
Reliable
one?
Union, Vox and Lance are going to keep Glaive off him.
Really?
I think Lance and Ozo are going to be on the front lines. Glaive's going to get onto the back lines. Dynasty is going to be able to take this.
All right, we have a split desk on this one. I'm going to stay impartial on this one, but it's about time that we get on into the game. So I'm going to pass it over to our casters as we head onto the Halcyon Fold.
Thank you very much, Munchables. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this 2017 summer season Europe, kicking off hot as we jump onto Halcyon Fold. Of course, I'm Dowsy. Joining me is the beautiful Xinyi as we kick the season off.
Oh, you're too much. You're too much, Dicey, and I'm super excited for this first game as well. And got to say, I'm with the analyst desk on this one. I think the draft could go either way. Looking at what they've picked, the Ozo, I feel like it does seem a bit of a wild card pick at the moment, as we have never, I don't think I've ever seen Daredevil play him before.
No, this is quite an interesting pickup here for Reliable Union, a team that a lot of people will be wondering, who the hell are these guys? Well, these were the first seeded European Challenger Series team. They won the VGL Challenger Series back in the spring split 2, and then were able to win their challenge battle to promote themselves to the VG8. Dynasty as well, a new organization but familiar names. This is the previous team's secret roster, reshuffled, rebranded. Mowgli now in that captain position where we expect him off the coaching desk, and we brought in PT Lamb, who a lot of people respect in the European scene for his great macro knowledge, but also a newcomer really as far as VGA play is concerned. Riku Meza as well from the Challengers series, and so a team that is going to be really relying on their macro ability, I feel, Xinyi, to get advantages over their opponents.
Yeah, definitely, I agree with you there. And PC Lamb, but say we've seen him moving about from position to position in the past. Oh, never mind, he gets stunned.
Yeah, there's going to be a fight breaking in the lane, looking for the first blood of summer. HF Guy gonna go down, and Likodov in trouble as well. It's first blood, it's second blood. Dynasty strike gold.
You were talking about the macro play, and I think that macro play right there was a great example, knowing when to pick those fights in the very early beginnings. PC Lamb going straight in there with the afterburn, and it just really caught them just off balance. I don't think they were expecting it, and I'm gonna say sometimes at 2 minutes maybe you should be expecting this gank, especially with a Glaive there. He's got this amazing ganking potential at the very early game when there is no way to block it, and if you don't have an escapability, then it's so easy to be caught out.
This Ozo pick is going to have to really start snowballing for Reliable Union, or I feel that this could be a downhill slope that they'll find themselves on. Reliable Union from the Challenger Series was well known for their very interesting one-dimensional composition that they like to run every game if they could, Xinyi. It was a triple melee composition, usually a Black Feather paired with a Glaive and a Fortress as well. Now, Reliable Union, they've kind of traded hands here. Only Likodov is playing from the Challenger Series team. Eyes, who was their main jungler back in the Challenger Series, is now sitting on the bench, waiting to be subbed in if necessary. So I'm expecting to see new things from the team, but as a first showing going up against Dynasty, this is a pretty hard task, and they're already in trouble. Likodov misses the Impale, and he'll get punished for it greatly. Daredevil going in, trying to find a kill, but PT Lamb just about escapes, uses the boots to get out of dodge, and that's going to be a third kill going Dynasty's way.
Yeah, there's a lot of damage going there, coming up from the Acro Bounce there, coming out from the Ozo. I think the problem, you know, you were saying about the triple melee coming out from Reliable Union in the past. I feel like looking at this composition right now, there's a similar theme. All three of these heroes, they need to be played at close range. It's, you know, they're all about trying to get onto the Samuel. Never mind, HF Guy.
Yeah, this is HF Guy just in trouble. They're not having any fun, are they? Mowgli can't quite find the last auto attack, but yeah, that is going to be him just about escaping, but it's huge disparities growing in the lane as this lane's going to get pushed right in. PT Lamb's going to get himself a little bit of an advantage in CS, and it is right now Dynasty kind of just playing a superior early game.
Yeah, well, actually, both of the teams are keeping relatively even in terms of farm. Actually, we might be seeing a 1v1 there with the Ozo and the Samuel, but the Ozo has just picked up the Aftershock, and I think that's a major power spike going for that Ozo, and as far as I'm concerned. We saw before when he just had the when he was just jumping in, he was doing a lot of damage there with not very much crystal. With the aftershock there, I think that's a major power spike. If the Reliable Union pick a fight, I think they have a very good chance of winning it. But they do have to be careful because they need to go into the Samuel straight away, and right now they're not doing that because of the afterburn and because of the bulwark. Mowgli's doing a very good job of preventing those close fights from happening.
Right now, it's going to be a struggle because of this kind of range advantage that the Samuel and the Lyra brings to the composition. A siege could be really detrimental. Reliable Union, they're going to have to all in if they want to fight. They can't really find themselves in a position where they're just taking consistent poke, or they will be in trouble. There's going to be the engage coming in, looking for that banger, and Daredevil just gets destroyed. Oh, Likonov in trouble as he's going to find himself going down for a double to PT Lamb. And now HF Guy trying to escape, but he cannot escape the sniper that is Mowgli. An ace for Dynasty.
A beautifully flawless play coming out there from Dynasty because, you know, we can see exactly where the Ozo was coming from. He had the Bangarang available. Looking at the members of Dynasty there, no one has a reflex block. You wouldn't be expecting to be blocked. But the bulwark from Mowgli was actually really perfect at the time. The heal came out as well, allowing him to use his speed boost to disengage from the fight and send the Drifting Dark. And because Ozo was so far ahead at that point, the rest of his team couldn't catch up, and I feel like it was they just knocked them out one by one and picked up the ace there, 6-0. They get the first turret of the game. They've picked up a quite impressive 3k gold lead already at 6 minutes as well.
Yeah, it's a huge gold lead, really. The 3,000 gold, it's a number that is just... In the next 4 minutes, roughly, if Dynasty follows this trend that they've built up, Shinyi is going to double, and it will be the nail in the coffin for Reliable Union. And their composition relied on Daredevil getting the team ahead, and at the moment, he's not even able to find a single kill. He's going to go in, looking for the acro bounce all around. Rickamez's able to get away, and he's knocked into trouble. Daredevil, the fountain healing him up. He's trying to sustain, but he cannot, and a kill will go to Rickamez, getting his third of the game. This guy is really putting up a performance with Dynasty, and now with the minion wave pushing down the lane, this could just be another turret for Dynasty to focus.
Absolute brutality there against the Ozo. Mowgli is just holding onto the bulwark for the moment that the Ozo jumps in, trapping him in there, and it's just so easy for all three members to focus on Ozo because I feel like that we are seeing him going a little bit too far ahead from the rest of his team. The rest of his team can't really help with him, so it's a bit of a 1v3 situation, and they're just completely focusing on Daredevil there. HF Guy and Lance, they're not really getting to do too much in the fight so far. I feel like this is very much Ozo just in the forefront of all the fights. And Dynasty, they're really focusing on that. I feel like they're going to have to switch up the tactics, hopefully. They are going to be going for the gold mine.
Yeah, just looking for as much gold as possible. You're mentioning that it is brutality. Dynasty are not allowing Reliable Union to get back into this game. A lot of questions around the organization Reliable Union. How would they fare against VG8 teams? Were they capable of holding their own? Well, as a first game in the VG8, this is really rocking your socks at the moment. You want to come in strong, Shinyi. You want to really make an impact. You
do, but I think you all kind of expect, like you said before, they kind of ran with this cookie cutter composition before the Challenger Series. It worked really well for them, but obviously a lot of the teams were able to study it. So they've had a few weeks off to try and come up with these new compositions, get used to the update as well. And I'm sure we can expect some kind of teething period as well. I'm kind of accounting that to this. Oh, they get a very nice impale down.
Yeah, it's a nice impale. They're looking for a kill here, but man, HF Guy's just getting destroyed as we talk. PT Lamb being held up by the Bangarang, but Rickamez is chasing HF Guy for the kill. It's the 8th of the game, and I said in 4 minutes we'll get a 6,000 gold lead. Nah, man, 2.5 minutes. Dynasty are not slowing down, and they're going to take this choke point turret with ease, increase their gold lead even further. Daredevil, if he attempts to stop it, will find his demise. A really solid game from Dynasty.
Part of me is wondering, throughout all the team fights in the past, well, 9 minutes actually, it does feel that Reliable Union, they're the ones that are being very aggressive. They're the ones that are trying to pick the team fights. And Dynasty, they're just taking advantage of that. And I do wonder, maybe if we allow Dynasty to be the one to be aggressing on the team fights, be engaging, and allow for Reliable Union to be focusing on any misplays or missteps, that's probably a little bit better, because I feel like this aggression, because they are this far behind, it's probably not the best approach at this point.
Yeah, and it kind of feels like for Daredevil, he rushed into that Aftershock, which is a very standard first item for Ozo, but he needed the defense against this composition that just really was able to deal with trouble. Mowgli, with his Bulwark, could shut down some of the engages, not all of them. Ozo's a bit of a tricky hero to actually stop with the Bright Bulwarks, but if worse comes to shove for Dynasty, then they have the Afterburn to knock him out of his Acro Bounce, knock him away if necessary. So they've really got a killer composition for dealing with this Ozo. And HF Guy's going down this kind of sustain build. He's got himself the Sorrow Blade, but he's also a Poison Ship. He's really not liking the amount of focus that Dynasty can bring, and it means that he's just not actually outputting damage, because the idea of the sustain build, Shunyi, as you can attest to, is that you sustain through the fights for a long time, but if you're being blown up, then actually you really just need to be dishing out as much damage before you die.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I feel like we're not seeing actually much damage coming up from the Vox at all in the team fights. And I think the last one, what we did see was we saw Dr. Daredevil, it's confusing with the names, Daredevil going straight into the fights. And actually, HF Guy trying to get some damage down, but PC Lamb just did a turnaround and went for the Afterburn on the HF Guy, knocking him out of position instead. And I think it's like decisions like that that really make Dynasty which is why they're having such a strong performance today. And I think Reliable Union, they do seem to be playing for the late game. Ozo, very tanky, very durable hero, and he's with the Aftershock. He's got a fair bit of defense as well. I feel like HF Guy, though, they need to just try and keep him alive. They've got the peel there with that lance, but right now I'm not seeing those Githian wall combos. You know, if you see that glaive coming at you, push him away, and that just keeps HF Guy alive just a little bit longer. He has that Sonic Zone. He also has that wait for it as well. There's a lot of potential in this composition that I feel like they're struggling to pull off right now.
Yeah, and it's not helping that the gold lead is just going so against them. 11,000 or 9,000 gold at this point, and we haven't even hit a Kraken on the map yet. Dynasty full control over the map. They're just waiting for the chance to strike. They're going to remove that Crystal Sentry, eliminate it from the map, and then they're going to find Reliable Union out of position because they want to contest something. Or if Reliable Union keep their wits about them and don't contest anything, then they could just go straight for the Kraken. But here we go. It is the contest onto the Sentry. There is a minion candy on it. They're doing damage. Rikomeza a little bit in trouble, but manages to dodge away from that Bangarang. PT Lamb shovels the Ozo away, and a great escape. In fact, puts Rikomeza back in the line. Likodov going forward. Impale through. It doesn't matter.
Oh, no.
The damage insane. The insane sustain for Dynasty as they push their kills to 11.
That was such a great fight there for Reliable Union as well. You know, we were saying before, HF Guy, he's got the sustain build, it's all about staying alive. And this was a great opportunity to do so. We saw the Lance landing a triple impale. It was a great opportunity, but if you look at the positioning coming up from Rikomeza with the Kaising back, he was just staying out of position the whole time. And this is actually game at 12 minutes.
Yeah, Dynasty, they do not mess around. I'm so hyped about this Dynasty roster, Shinyi. It's a roster that has so much potential. Team Secret, we saw them at the Spring Western Unified Live Championship, putting up such a great fight to Gangstars, who pushed their way all the way through and came second. A North American team definitely to fear. But I thought this Team Secret, if they put their wits together, then they're going to be in a really good spot. Now as Dynasty, now picking up Rikomeza, picking up PT Lamb, two players respected in Europe for their macro play, players that study East Asia and Southeast Asia, even play on the servers to try and get an understanding of different ways to play the game. There's just so much potential for this European team.
I think it really showed in that the team fights that they were picking, even the moments where they looked slightly weaker and looked at Reliable Union, where had to potentially have a chance of coming back. Their adjustments, their positioning, if you look at the way they were playing, and the synergy just to keep Samuel alive was absolutely incredible. I'm really excited for the next game of the series, and I'm hoping that Reliable Union they mix it up.
Yeah, no, I agree. We're going to have to pass it back to our analyst Shinyi so we can get that next game going, but definitely something to change up for Reliable Union, I feel.
What a way to start the VG8 right there. Perfect game coming out from Dynasty. We said they were a team to watch coming into this whole season. They've certainly started off well.
Yeah, they came out, made a statement here in this first game. Absolutely dominant performance against Reliable Union. And, I mean, there was opportunities for Reliable Union. There was a fight that everything seemed to be going wrong for Dynasty. And they still
Yeah.
managed to turn around and get a clean ace without giving up a single kill.
So let's bring it back to the original draft, right? Is this an issue with the draft from Dynasty, or was this just gameplay specific?
I think it's really outplaced. PT Lamb had a god glaive. I mean, he had such great afterburns, getting a box and putting him in really good situations where glaive was able to just burst him down. So really, really well done by Dynasty there. And then they played the draft really well with Lyra and the Bulwark, counting the Ozo jump, etc. And they got that first ace at the 5-minute mark. Really nice plays and shot calls really from Dynasty.
But you could go as far as to say that that's a misplay from Reliable Union, right? Picking the Ozo while Lyra's already locked in.
It's not even so much that picking Ozo while I was already locked in. I don't have much of an issue with Reliable Union's draft, but the way they performed with their draft, I feel it was kind of counterintuitive to what the sort of play style that this draft is meant to be. Like, they want to have that Ozo getting fortified health and being on the front line. Lance using that Githian wall to block damage from Samuel. And it's a very more defensive style of play and just letting this Vox scale up and be this backline massive amounts of damage. Yet they were the ones that were constantly being the aggressors early on, looking for these fights when they just didn't have the tools to actually win those fights out against the early game strengths of a Samuel and Glaive.
So, Suijay, we saw that this was very much a game of snowballing, right? They started off very strong and then just continued to kind of steamroll forward. The Kraken hadn't even spawned by the time the game ended. Was there something Reliable Union could have been doing to kind of stop the bleeding, I guess?
Yeah, they needed to initiate with Lance. Lance needs to initiate, get a root on Lyra, one of the heroes, and Lyra will have to then bulwark to protect their team. And then once the bulwark is down, Ozo initiates and Vox initiates. They have to initiate with Lance. They were always playing on the back pedal. They're always getting initiated on, or they didn't initiate very well. So this here is a perfect example. Ozo just jumps in and Glaive just deletes him because, first of all, he doesn't have much armor. Glaive has a sword blade, has a huge power spike, and they're trying to start a fight when they're 5 kills down. And then that beautiful ace by Mowgli there. And you can see Mowgli's playing real well. The team is glued. Like, he's the glue that's keeping the team together. The shot calls have been great. The team rotations have been great. They're playing their objective game very great. I mean, very well done by Dynasty here for sure.
And you can see the confidence in the team there as well that Mowgli had that kill. The other two start pushing the lane. They don't also dive in because they know that Mowgli's got it. And obviously that is great communication from Mowgli to tell his team, look, I've got this one, don't worry about it. And he's confident in his ability and, you know, gets the results in the end. So now, looking towards the next game, what do Reliable Union have to change in this one? Is there specific draft changes, or are we just looking at execution? How do they play the early game better?
I feel like the execution is going to be the big part of it. I mean, it's going to be difficult, that's for sure. A lot of times when we look at a very dominant game like that, you kind of ask, well, was Team A that good, or was Team B kind of falling flat? I think this one was much more of a case of Dynasty being that good. Like, they just looked incredible with the way that they played, not making very many mistakes, if any at all, except for there was, like I said, that one little fight towards the end of the game. But aside from that, they played so clean, and the only way to beat that is to match it.
Certainly is. Or remove some of the parts of that composition. Samuel already taken off the table, and we'll see what Reliable Union are going to answer with. Obviously, Dynasty were the ones playing Samuel in the last game, so deciding that while they're on the other side of the draft, they don't want to go too crazy. Yeah,
they should ban Grumpjaw or Baron here if they know how to play if they want to play against Baron or Grumpjaw. But I think those are the two bans they definitely need to take away from Dynasty. Looks like Samuel is a target ban against Reliable Union. They banned it on this. They took it away on the first draft on A side here. Now they're going to ban it and not give it to Reliable Union. So that's an interesting ban from Dynasty. Very off meta. And Grumpjaw is going to become as a ban. Baron will probably be picked here most likely because he's such a strong laner right now. He's very dominant. And I think that Dynasty, if they don't take Baron, they're giving away a very strong laner. Oh, they're going to take Lyra
again. So a heavy focus on Lyra from Dynasty.
Yeah, well, I believe that's Reliable Union.
I think we might be the other way around.
But it's there's going to be the Arden coming through, which we saw Dynasty ban in game number 1. So they're going to be putting a lot of emphasis on this Arden here, which is, again, surprising that something like the Baron has not seen more priority focus.
Yeah, Baron kind of been ignored so far in this series, and we'll see whether that's going to continue to be the case as we get into the later picks of this draft. But that's going to be an Idris banned away. What do we think about that ban? Because I mean, I don't think we even saw Idris in London, never mind today.
Yeah, Idris is actually very strong along with Vox and Baron up there. He builds poison shifts, Throw Blades, and with a healer like Lyra, he's allowed to go in and engage, get his barrier perk that he has with his A, and he's very mobile and does really well into squishy mages, etc. So Arden is a very interesting pick here because again, Arden is countered by a good Lyra because when Lyra is if Lyra portals in bulwarks the team, Arden cannot use his ability. He cannot vanguard his allies, etc. So Arden is a very interesting pick, or maybe a calculated pick into Lyra here on part of Dynasty.
Well, we mentioned that Baron had not really been focused so far, is going to be banned away in this second rotation from Reliable Union, and that means that Vox is wide open for Dynasty's grab. So Vox and Arden, very powerful combo already here for Dynasty.
Yeah, definitely very strong. I mean, it's the movement, the mobility, again, is such a key factor. As long as the Batiste doesn't come through, this mobility is going to be very difficult for Reliable Union to deal with. They're going to go ahead and take a Gwen and Blackfeather. So they're going to say, you know what, you have some mobility here. We're going to match that with a lot of mobility of our own.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll see how these fights are going to pan out as well. And I think it's all going to rest on this final pick. What are we expected to see here, Sweetjay?
Yeah, they have a lot of options. They have Koshka, they can do a CP Glade, but he did get slight nerf. There's also Batiste and also Alpha, CP Alpha potentially here that they could play, but I think most likely they will probably go with the
safe Ozo pick.
Yeah, the safe. Either Koshka or Batiste or even Glaive. So they actually go with Taka here, so to counter the Gwen specifically.
Okay, so looking to really dive deep onto that backline, and you know, with Vox and Arden, there's a lot of support for that Taka when he jumps on in. Are we going to see an I Love Joseph-esque Taka performance here coming out?
I mean, that's what they're going to be hoping for. They want to be able to just dominate and control that jungle. Both of these teams actually have extremely similar drafts in terms of what they're going to be trying to do. You want to have your Gwen and your Vox, you know, just building up, being very relatively squishy, you know, maybe one defense item, if any at all, and then Taka, Blackfeather, both those two are going to be looking to dive into those backlines with an Atlas Pauldron, get the attack speed slow onto the opposing carry. Like it's almost identical ideas behind these drafts.
Which you have to kind of be a little bit nervous, right, for Reliable Union. If the compositions have the same goals and last game they lost on execution, you've got to be a bit nervous coming into this one.
Yeah, absolutely. If Taka jumps in and gets a Vanguard from Arden, Gwen is going to be locked down, and Vox is going to jump in there, and they're just going to delete that Gwen. So Reliable Union has to play very cautious, and they need to make sure that they protect Gwen.
All right, well, we'll see how it's going to pan out. Once again, we want to know who you guys are voting for on this one. We've had our first game. We're going into our second. Get involved using that hashtag Vainglory8. But we're going to be jumping onto the Halcyon Fold once again, so I'm going to pass it back to Jinyi and Dowsy.
Thank you very much, Munchables. This is going to be a really interesting game here for Reliable Union, I feel, Shinyi. They need to try and make this composition that they've drafted work, or else it's a sweet 2-0 for Dynasty.
Yes, and the first game wasn't too great. Hopefully it hasn't affected their mentality too much, and they've mixed up the compositions again, looking very good. I like the Lyra pick. We saw last time with the Ozo going to the Lyra, how difficult the Lyra can make it with her bulwark, and I'm hoping that we'll see a similar thing going with the Taka. If the Taka tries to jump onto Daredevil, or even HF Gylithodov, we'll just throw down that bulwark, and it'll be very easy to focus that Taka down. However, it does depend on if they're able to coordinate that.
And it is worth noting that for anyone who's just joining the broadcast, Shinyi, that we are playing on 2.5 here.
Yes.
Currently, the live update is 2.6, and I believe we'll be switching over to that very soon for VG8 competitive play. But it just came out a little bit too soon to really throw the competitive players onto it. This is a nice little start from Reliable Union. Very much a strong-handed move from them as they push in onto Dynasty and say, you know what, we're going to take away one of your camps. They're not going to get bullied in the early game like the previous.
Yeah, they're going to get the Elder Tree as well. That's going to be a good goal boost in the first minutes of the game. Taka, I don't know if he's in any position to try and contest it. Maybe he'll move up to lane. I really don't think he's going to be able to steal it in time, but I feel like the Taka, he has the ability to harass away, or he's going to go onto Liquidov.
Oop. Is he going to be able to find the kill is the question.
I think he
Rukameza
is.
1v2 looking for first
Gets
blood
it.
and he gets it. And is he going to get away? Oh my goodness, he is. He is on a sliver of HP, but is able to manage to get this healing camp, get back up to full HP. Wow, impressive stuff from Rukameza, and he is really finding his own on this team.
Yeah, I really like the rotation that just came out from Mowgli and PT Lamb there, because this way they are denying a few camps away. You know, at the start, it looks like Reliable Unions, they were the ones that were taking the camps away, but Dynasty, with that turnaround and that rotation down, they were able to turn that around. So they're sitting a little bit ahead in the lead right now. Rukameza, he's got his farm, he's actually doing really well compared to HF Guy, who's just sitting on 3 CS there. PT Lamb and Mowgli did a really good job of just feeding that towards him. So he's able to pick up the Stormguard banner already. This will really help a lot with trying to just farm as quickly as possible, allowing him to move up to lane and just harass that Gwen.
Now, we'll have to see if this early kill for Rukameza is enough for him to start snowballing from the jungle, a place where you can really start to exchange some differences. You see him and Mowgli looking to try and find an aggressive play onto Ember of Reliable Union, but they don't know where Daredevil is. In fact, he's right behind them, looking for the flank as he comes in with that buckshot. HF Guy does go low, but Rukameza has been split. Going stealth, they know he's going to reconvene, but is it enough for him to get away? Gets shot. There's the buckshot. One more auto attack. No, the shield should keep him alive, and he manages to jump away for safety as well. Very hard to lock down a Tucker.
Very hard. I think Vision's going to be a major priority. I would not be surprised to be seeing that contraption coming out relatively early from the Lyra, just so they can prevent invades like that happening. He's got, you know, we see him going for that crystal bit already. I think we might be seeing the Aftershock Stormcrown Taka as opposed to a weapon build Taka, because we did see in the 2.5 update his weapon ratios were increased slightly, so they're pushing a little bit more towards that weapon path route. But I feel like we're going to be seeing more of the double proc build coming out from Dynasty today.
We'll have to see if Dynasty are going to be able to secure this Elder Tree, and it is a fight for it. Actually goes over to HF Guys, so that's a nice little win for Reliable Union, holding their own so far. At this point, they were desperately losing control of the game, but actually this might turn around as Daredevil gets knocked down to half HP. Should be fairly okay under his turret, but that's not a position you want to be low on HP. And you can see Dynasty, they're just constantly playing a bit of a macro game, hard pushing this wave in, make sure that PT Lamb gets the gold, of course, so that they can rotate as a unit and perhaps look for invades into the jungle. Exactly what they want to do as a 3. It actually forces a Reliable Union to either fight 2v3 in the jungle over their stuff, or for Daredevil to lose out on farm. So if they wanted to hard commit to that play, it's actually really clever, because either way they're gaining something.
Yeah, and all 3 members of Dynasty were sitting on a lot of gold. There was just a lot of items being picked up there by all 3 members. And actually, if you look at Daredevil, he's sitting on 2,000 gold himself. He's having to teleport home. I think Dynasty are in a really good position to try and push again, just push the lane up and then just prepare for just the next fight. Because I think this is what we saw in the last game, was it was fairly, I think it was, we did see a really good advantage coming from Reliable Union at the start. They had some really good aggression coming out from the Lyra and the Blackfeather going into the jungle. But I feel like Dynasty, like you said, the macro play is very strong coming from them. They'll be looking for mistakes that Reliable Union will be making. They're doing a really good harass onto Mowgli, forcing him back, and I think this could be the start of the first major team fight.
Yeah, looking for a re-engage here. Dynasty, as they dive on in, there is actually a fountain advantage. Mowgli has his. Likodov hasn't finished it for Reliable Union, but nonetheless, Dynasty decide that they're not going to go for some full aggression. In fact, deciding to back away. Mowgli, very low, has been taking a brunt of damage in the lane, so we will have to go back to base hold and get himself some health back, but he wants to stick around just because if the potential for a catch was there onto the carry, he can kind of ignore the fact that he's low HP and use the fountain to initiate the fight.
Yes, that is true. And we do see Likodov picking up a slightly late fountain at 5.5 minutes, but they'd have the vision now as well, so hopefully the attacker will not be catching him out in the future. We do see Daredevil sitting there with a tension bow as well, an HF guy going very much for the very heavy crystal Blackfeather. So they're going for a very bursty composition coming out from them with that tension, but we're seeing that the boomstick is doing a lot of damage the moment he gets the first hit down. And that is something that Dynasty are going to be careful of, because if those hits do manage to go onto them, it's going to be doing a lot of damage. It's going to force them back. Reliable Union, I don't think they have enough defense just yet to try and go for those sustained team fights.
So it is 2.5, and in 2.5, Gwen received a nerf to her boomstick. 45% down to 35% weapon ratio on her boomstick passive to try and reduce some of that oppressiveness she had in lane. But actually, wow, as I say that, another kill goes over to PT Lamb. He's going to find himself that kill in the lane as Daredevil, in fact, just gets completely caught out. Now looking to try and push the turret. He's got the whole team with him, and this should be an easy affair. Storm Guard banner means that this turret does not really stand a chance. HF Guy trying to prevent it, but he can't do anything. Dynasty, with a single kill, going to push their goal lead to 3,000.
Yeah, very different game from the last one. We are seeing the slow gold lead being accrued by Dynasty. The kills aren't as much, but they are picking up the objectives. And currently the next major objective that's sitting there waiting is the gold mine, looking about three quarters full. So I think that's going to be the next major issue point for contention for both of those teams. We see the Crystal Infusion being picked up by the Taka. PC Lamb also has a Sora Blade. They are looking very comfortable right now in terms of item progression. And if we're going to be looking at Reliable Union, they too also do have very good items. But right now, I think, as we were saying before, macro play maybe just not as strong as Dynasty. They're not picking the fights at the moment we want to be seeing them. We want to be seeing that boomstick and the tension will probably being kind of applied together. Just landing onto PT Lamb, and that's a really good kind of moment for engagement coming out from Reliable Union.
So back to the point that I was trying to make, Shinyi, before Dynasty found themselves that kill. With the boomstick nerf, the thing that made Gwen such like a S tier laner was that paired with boomstick and tension bow, her first auto attack just chunked the opposite laner. Now with this ratio down, Liquidov forcing the passage out. Now with this this kind of nerf to it, we've almost seen a reduction of Gwen being played over in solo queues. So I'm wondering if this will be kind of repeated in competitive play. Obviously Reliable Union playing it here, but as the day goes on, as the weekend pans out, I'll be actually very interested, maybe Tasty Bacon can draw on this, how often Gwen is actually picked up.
Yeah, I think that will be really interesting. Solo queue is a little bit different from the competitive play, but I feel like whereas she might not be as hotly contested as she was before, she was always such a priority pick in terms of bans, in terms of first picks. We will still be seeing some Gwen, perhaps not as much a priority, because we're already seeing the priority shifting towards heroes like Grumpjaw, Baron already. It's actually it's really impressive to see those heroes being picked up, and I feel like we're going to be seeing a lot of variety over the weekend.
Yeah, for sure. And this is the great thing that 2.5 and 2.6 next week offers us, is so much versatility, as it's going to be Dynasty taking away this Crystal Sentry, easy peasy. Reliable Union attempting to stop it as HF Guy does poke Mowgli down, but Mowgli's such a tanky hero. Arden has so many resistances, has the shield as well, and of course the regen from Life Spring. So if you're going to be poking anyone down to try and open up a fight, then it's not this Arden.
It's definitely not the Arden. He's so good at soaking up the damage in the front line as well. And we haven't seen that Gauntlet coming out yet, and that Gauntlet is such a strong tool. And if you're looking at Daredevil and HF Guide, neither of them have that reflex block. Of course, we do have the Skedaddle, and we do have the Rose Offensive, so they do have some escape through the Gauntlet. But if they're able to force him to use it earlier on, then it's such a good engagement. They're using that Gauntlet to try and trap a particular member.
Oh,
there it is!
There it is. That's the flank play, and oh no! Can Reliable Union escape? Yes, they can. The wait for it just wasn't quite quick enough from PT Lamb. A nice little rotation there from Mowgli. Came around the side through the tri-bush to try and stop it down. Now with that gauntlet down, could just be Reliable Union setting up. They've got that buckshot to slow everyone down. Mowgli just kind of acting as a brick wall for Reliable Union to throw rocks at. Now, Dynasty looking like they've regened enough, but when those buckshots catch three, especially when those impales catch through the lineup, there is potential for Reliable Union to really look for a fight here. That's going to be a Aegis picked up on PT Lamb wanting to try and resist. He's actually diving in. He's going to get snared up. Heal comes out. There's the Fountain trying to sustain, but can they do enough damage? Diving in onto this Gwen. The Fountain keeps him alive. Rukameza's stealthed. Can he get away? Trying to dodge out, but no, he cannot. Reliable Union find their first kill here in the VG8. And they're going for more. I thought they were going to stop there, but perhaps just trying to steal the healing away. That actually gives them map advantage.
Yeah, that was a really good fight there for them. And each of Guy and Liquidov just did not lose any health, and that is because of that sigil that is just being thrown down. They have a lot of bursting, a lot of damage. And Dynasty, once they used the Fountain, there wasn't really much else they could do. You have the Vanguard coming out from Mowgli, yes, and the heal coming out from Taka's Kaku. But I think at the start of the fight, we saw PT Lamb using his Sonic Zoom to get into all three members off Reliable Union to just try and get some damage onto Daredevil. And I actually think the positioning of that was a little bit weak because it left him in a very vulnerable position, forcing Mowgli to use his Vanguard to boost him out of position. And I think it was the fact that they probably should not have kept pursuing because they were already fairly low before that fight broke out properly.
Almost disrespectful. Perhaps coming from such a dominant first game, they may have underestimated the power that Reliable Union had available to them as a roster, as a team, when on slightly more equal footing. I say equal footing, it's still a 4,000 gold lead for Dynasty, but it isn't quite as devastating as it was in the previous game at the 12-minute mark. And so Dynasty, whilst they still are in the lead, still have advantages to them, they need to make sure that they don't just kind of face tank damage.
Yeah, what we're trying to see is that Taka, he really just wants to jump in either onto the Gwen or onto the Black Feather, because if you look at the itemization, there's not much defense on the other side. He can do a lot of damage if he's able to get onto all three, either of the two of them. But the issue is, if you're looking at the positioning coming out from Reliable Union, they're keeping a very tight formation, and he is very aware that that bulwark is sitting there. And I feel like he's trying to find these fights. They're not really allowing him because of their positioning. They're keeping very tightly together. So right now, I feel like it's just a bit of a... They're kind of just dancing around each other, trying to get these moments in the fight. And I think this is kind of explains, if you look at the scoreboard, it's only 1v2. Yet, Dynasty, they have this fairly impressive 5k gold lead at 12 minutes.
Gold lead that they can continue building up if they are able to find themselves some objectives. But now, it seems like Reliable Union are kind of scaling into their own. The 2 damage items peak for Daredevil. HF guy almost at that broken myth. Once he gets it, those sustained fights, really huge for Reliable Union.
Actually, they're doing a really good job with the poke. We're seeing the buckshot coming out, and we're seeing the buckshot coming out. It's doing a lot of damage. Actually, going on the gold mine, Reliable Union know about this. I'm not sure this is a good idea.
This might get stolen away. It does! That's going to be the kill going over to Daredevil. Now they're looking to chase Dynasty in. You did the hard work. Now we're going to take your lives as well. First kill goes their way. Mowgli gets over, pops the fountain to make sure PT Lamb has a bit of a sustained getaway. But man, a mistake coming out of Dynasty. A roster that we kind of praised for their macro ability in Game 1, struggling here in Game 2 to push their lead further.
Definitely, and that was a major lead that they just lost with that gold mine there. And they're picking up the kills slowly but surely. It's 2-2 right now, and they are turrets down, but they're bringing it back slowly. And I feel like in these team fights, as you were saying, we do see Dynasty. I just feel like Dynasty are struggling a little bit. And again, I'm just going to say, I feel like we're not seeing the opportunity coming out for the Taka to jump onto either of the carries on the side of Reliable Union. And Reliable Union, if you look at them, they're just, all 3 of them just running straight at them, dealing a lot of damage, forcing PC Lamb to disengage. And at that point, he's lost a lot of health already. So Mowgli and Rukumez are just in a bit of an awkward position here. They are struggling to find the opening for the team fights right now. Yeah,
no, for sure. And this could be a slippery slope. If it continues this trend, then Reliable Union, they are on equal footing. Still lead as far as gold is concerned at this 14.5-minute mark, but the odds are getting higher and higher as this seconds tick on Xinyi. Just 20 until the Kraken enters the Halcyon Fold for the first time here in summer. And right now, Reliable Union setting up for a fight around this timing. Mowgli does get away. Rukumez are going to dive onto the backline looking for Daredevil. Going to get stunned up though by that Aces High. He's struggling to get away, Daredevil. And in fact, he's going to find his way back to base in the quick route. Another kill goes over. Dynasty had found the engage. They won. Nikodov going to passage away, but he's going to get chased down. Double for PT Lamb, and Ace comes through for Dynasty. And the Kraken, she's a spawned.
Oh, she's a spawn, and she's going to be going down to Dynasty, which was a very slick team fight actually. They managed to find a narrow channel. PT Lamb the whole time was very aggressive in his positioning, just trying to get right into Daredevil's face there, and damage output was very significant there coming out from PT Lamb. I felt like Gwen wasn't really able to kite away. There was not really much escape. The focus coming from all 3 members onto Dynasty, which is a little bit too much. They focused on Gwen, then they switched to Black Feather, and finally they went for the Lyra. And that was a very beautiful team fight from Dynasty that I wasn't actually expecting from them for this game. Just because of the way they've been playing, I feel like Reliable Union have been a little bit stronger in their team fights and in the way they've been moving across the map, that it was a bit surprising that we are seeing Dynasty getting the Kraken and getting that ace.
Now, pushing the Kraken down the lane, this turret will take 1 auto attack, boop, and it's gone. This is going to be a hard defense here for Reliable Union. If they decide to engage a team fight, Dynasty could push into the win and win if they lose it. But Dynasty going to just take this slow for now, going to start popping down this choke point turret. Really, 2 turrets is all they need to make this Kraken worthwhile, and they are going to find it. Now going to fall back, perhaps even go take the Crystal Sentry, but they have to be careful. Reliable Union, they finish the Kraken off quite quickly, so really Dynasty can't look for anything more.
Yeah, and then fusions are about to run out on PT Lamb, whereas there's a few, maybe a few seconds left there on HF Guy and Daredevils, but they're going in with the gauntlet, they stun her.
Yeah, they're going in. Daredevil does get stunned, but he's out for now. The Kodov going very low, going to try and passage away, but it goes back into the gauntlet walls. Mowgli going to chase forward. There's no fountain available for this team, and that's going to be first kill going down. Second for Riku, and there's Likodov knows it's done. Gonna try and port back to safety and manages to get so just in time as well. Wow, what a great engage coming out of Mowgli, but even more importantly, I feel like that passage mistake from Likodov lost them the team fight greatly.
I'm going to agree with you, but I'm also going to say it was the peel coming out from Dynasty. They were able to force Daredevil along a completely different path from the rest of her team, and it was just so easy for the attacker just to chase her on 1v1 whilst Mowgli distracted HF Guy and Likodov there. So they managed to split the whole team up. That is not what they want, because the whole time we've been seeing Dynasty sticking together as a 3, and that's working out very well for them. But the moment you split the carries away from the support, from the captain, that's when they're going to be having problems, and we definitely saw that happen. And also, the infusions coming out from Dynasty mid-fight as they went past the shop.
Yeah, no, they infused and engaged instantly, and it did mean that there was this advantage there for Dynasty off the bat. Really nice awareness of their power in the game, and more importantly, the power of their opponents at that specific second. Comes down to sometimes inches in this game, Shinyi, and that was one of those moments where the advantage for them was there by milliseconds.
Definitely, it was there. They are setting off the scout traps now. I think it's not looking so great for Reliable Union. They had a very strong lead. Not a lead, I would say, but they were certainly looking very strong. But now they are forced back to their last 2 turrets of the game. Dynasty haven't dropped a single one yet. But there is a 4k gold lead there towards Dynasty. And all 3 members are currently infused. I think we're just waiting for a time. As the Kraken comes out, I think we're going to be sensing a potential contention for this Kraken. Reliable Union coming towards Dynasty.
Got themselves the gauntlet available, so Dynasty could really just look to try and make the proactive play here. Find a team fight, force Reliable Union to take it, and then either push in for the win. There's only 2 Vein Crystal turrets available left, which means that, you know, an ace near the base is game over. If the ace is distance away, then the Kraken gets taken, and that could just be game over anyway. So Reliable Union, the pressure is on right now, and Daredevil's going to be split from the team, looking for damage. There's Likodov diving on in, forces Rukumeza back, but PT Lamb in the middle of it, taking a lot of damage. Oh, everyone goes everywhere. PT Lamb, though, finds the kill. Can he escape? Dancing and diving shields and everything. Likodov cannot keep his Black Feather alive. The ace comes through. More remarkably, PT Lamb alive in it all, and that's going to be the game.
I feel in anyone else's hands on that Vox, they should have died much earlier. PT Lamb, the gauntlet, weaving in and out of the gauntlet, as you said, staying alive just long enough. He got stunned by the Ace's high coming from Gwen. He should have by all rights died. They should not have won that team fight. But that positioning, the maneuvering coming out from him was just enough for them to finish up the game. And what game it's been. You know, it's a slow start, very, very slow start actually. It was just all about the macro play, pushing the objectives. And in the last 5 minutes, that's where all the action was. That's where Dynasty turned it around with their team fights.
Yeah, for sure. It's so great to see PT Lamb back in the carry position, Shinyi, back in this position where you can make some great big plays. And I'm really excited to see Dynasty as this season progresses. But what a great series from them. We got some great people to break down that series as well. So over to you, Munch.
Thank you very much, guys. And what a series that was. The second game, a lot closer than the first game, it has to be said. We definitely saw a little bit more of Reliable Union, but Dynasty just running away with things there.
Yeah, definitely. At least we saw some glimmers of hope from Reliable Union. Maybe just a little bit of growing pains for them. Maybe